Ever since Emma Sulkowicz, there have been quite a number of cases of false rape claims in the United States on college campuses. After her false rape claim and that Rolling Stones article, there was a number of calls to promote this rape culture and raise awareness, to deal with this rape culture. At no points then, when I talked about it in 2015, did I think for a second it would become an actual thing of false rape culture in the United Kingdom and the US. But alas, I have been proven wrong on multiple occasions, courtesy of the bungling police. The same law enforcement that is supposed to have all the evidence, pass it off to the prosecutor, who then decides if they are going to actually have a solid case, which in most of the cases that we have recently stumbled across would have been thrown out instantly, and if anything, wasted police resources because it should have been used against those that instead were the ones falsifying claim. Mitch recently did a video about a girl who had sex with her rapist. Fucked up do you get? Anyway, I want to talk about one particular article that was sent to me by a page. Rape case binned. Boy 17 cleared of rape after his lawyers find Facebook messages proving he's innocent, which cops failed to hand to defense. I would love to know the excuse given by the Leicestershire police. The excuse, because there is no reason for this. There is no good reason to excuse their incompetence. There will never be a good enough excuse for their incompetence, which is exactly what this is. It tarnishes the reputation which is already taking an absolute beating. In my country, the police have to go through quite a lot of loopholes to do the simplest of things, like perform a pit maneuver. It's ridiculous, the amount of bureaucracy between that, them requesting to do it, and then them being given permission to actually do it. So I find it astonishing that they somehow balls up the evidence, or seem to overlook it or omit it entirely. It's quite embarrassing. Leicestershire police failed to find more than 230 Facebook messages that proved a schoolboy was in a consensual relationship with a girl who accused him of rape. Wow. Now, note though, this boy, his name hasn't been mentioned just yet, because I think this is key to another point I'd like to make quite early. My view, and the view of a number of people I talk to, is that the identity of the accuser and the accused should remain anonymous until either the accused is convicted or found innocent. If the accused is found innocent, then the former accuser should then be named, then should be prosecuted, then should spend some lovely time in prison with a soap on the rope. I don't have much tolerance for those that make up lies. Can you imagine, considering how young this man is, how much this must have shaken him, his family, and anyone local and close to him that knew about this? This is unacceptable behaviour to falsify, and for what reason? You don't just have to think about the fact that the police bungled everything. You have to contend with the fact that that particular girl is a vindictive shit. I mean, she was willing to have him go to prison for whatever reason. Some reason conjured up from her mind, which I would assume has the equivalent IQ to a dead cat. It's astonishing how vindictive your species. The teen was expelled from his Leicestershire school. Nice. Wreck his education. I hope he gets a second chance though, and I hope he gets it paid for by the same school that expelled him. After his arrest in 2016 when he was aged just 15, which is why his identity was not revealed. He was charged on 14 counts including rape against 2 complainants, sexual assault and sexual activity with a child. I am a tad curious as to how old the victim, quotes, victim, was when they had sex, because I know there's that thing in our law, and before some law student corrects me, it's quite clear about how old people have to have consensual sex, but our law seems to skew a little, especially when you think about, for example, teachers. A male teacher has sex with a female student. He's done. Female teacher has sex with a male student. That male student gets a high five and she gets a slap on the wrist, which isn't too uncommon. There have been instances, of course, where examples have been made, but there is a remarkable inconsistency in that particular prosecution. So also, when you consider students, yes, he was 15, but he also wasn't of legal age, so, if that makes sense. But more than 230 Facebook messages proved he had a consensual relationship with a girl of the same age, so 15 as well. He gets accused of having sex with a minor, but they both technically had sex. I hope some people understand when I see this and I consider it to be gendered and bullshit, horseshit, dog shit. It's astonishing really that our laws are quite clearly gendered, and yet I'm going to have some law student in the chat, in the comment, telling me that it's not gendered. Of course not. In the latest in a series of rape cases that have collapsed after crucial evidence emerged at the last minute. Yeah, there's quite a lot of them. There's quite a lot of them in the US as well, and we will talk about that in a moment. The CPS is currently reviewing all rape cases, including more than 600 in London alone. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what will happen when most, if not all, hell, some of them, any of them, are proven to be innocent? Innocent people who have gone to prison because vindictive fucks have sent them, lied under oath. Oaths mean nothing to people these days, apparently. Just hurting someone. That really matters. Or playing victim because that's what you really want. As far as I'm concerned, if any are proven innocent, this will shake the police up. It'll ruin them. They have no credibility, no respect. They don't deserve respect if they keep on fucking up like this. It's quite insulting, to be honest, to know that a lot of people seem to exist that are that nasty. Really do show the worst aspects of our species, let's face it. Now, on my Discord server, I've been talking with a number of people and a couple of my patrons about Title IX. It comes up all the time because for the last year and a bit, it really has been something worth talking about, and it still is. But all the false rape claims in the US, on campuses, the false rape claims that are now building up in the UK, it's quite sad to see that so many innocent people are not only having their lives, their educations ruined. Certainly, he was in secondary school. That is cruelty of a very different level. That's a malicious type, the one that can probably throw him off anything he intends to be. And then you have those that do it at universities and are either expelled even though they have been proven to be innocent, expelled even though the supposed victim even says they didn't do it, or nothing happens even though someone is still living the life as if they were a victim when they're not a victim, i.e. Emma Sulkowicz, that stupid cunt, built an entire career on performance art based on a lie. Astonishing. And let's not forget here, this has somewhat gone unnoticed. This doesn't get as much attention as the moral outrage you get when you hear about these things. Do you remember the reaction to the Rolling Stone article on that college frat? Holy fuckballs, the protesting, the viciousness, the violence. Unnecessary. And the article was entirely based on a lie. So, just before we finish this, I wanted to touch on the US, where a Supreme Court justice says that colleges railroad accused students, based on the number of sources I could probably link in the description, of individual cases that have just been wrecked, or people been expelled preemptively, because quite frankly universities have far too much power. I'm inclined to believe this lady. So, no other current Supreme Court justice has an affectionate initialism, no other has dominated pop culture since the sudden passing of Antonin Scalia, and no other has surprisingly challenged a totem of progressive orthodoxy like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. A month ahead of her 85th birthday, the veteran justice brought it upon herself to highlight the unjust treatment of accused students on college campuses when asked about the #MeToo movement. In a wide-ranging interview with The Atlantic, Ginsburg, I will link it in the description, was asked about due process for the accused in the context of workplace allegations against powerful men. She quickly pivoted away from the workplace. I love this part. Well, that must not be ignored, and it goes beyond sexual harassment. The person who is accused has a right to defend herself or himself, and we certainly should not lose sight of that. Recognizing that these are complaints that should be heard, there's been criticism of some college codes of conduct for not giving the accused a fair opportunity to be heard, quite a lot of it. It's sickening, the number of them, and that's one of the basic tenets of our system. As you know, everyone deserves a fair hearing, which is the whole point, due process. The accused, in some instances, haven't even been able to defend themselves, or they've been in a state of limbo because they don't know what they're defending themselves against. And I can even attest this to a place that I used to go to, the University of East Anglia. They've done it on campus, not with rape, but with other supposed charges, to which then the teams or the individuals have gone to these little meetings and been bombarded in a totally unprepared situation. The person you've accused of, or you've put in a position where they can't study because they're suspended or expelled, or you've decided to prosecute them with your precious little college campus rules. If you don't tell them what they've done, and then you just throw it at them without them being allowed to prepare, you are abusing, in fact you're weakening democracy. You weaken it. You circumvent it to suit your needs. Because you, much like those that accuse people of rape that have lied, are vindictive. You're just looking for a cheap point-scoring exercise win against people who do not deserve the abuse they have to deal with from idiots like... And Ginsburg is quite right. And I hope people listen to her criticism. And I just want to read a little more of this article. This runs counter to a common line from victim rights groups and some Title IX professionals that the courts have no business telling colleges how to run Title IX proceedings. since their purpose isn't fundamentally determining the merit of accusations but prevent a hostile educational environment for accusers. Believe the victim, listen and believe after all, is intended to create sham tribunals. Can't really call them tribunals, but sure, a bullshit facsimile. Note that Ginsburg was asked about due process, but not campus's specific fact that she immediately suggested college codes of conduct as an example of a policy that sometimes violates the basic tenets of our system says a great deal about the glaring unfairness of the modern approach to Title IX, the federal statute that requires universities to investigate sexual harassment and assault. And Ginsburg didn't just make note of the controversy, she explicitly said critics of the current procedures have a point. If a campus sexual misconduct case adjudicated under the deficient standards ever made it all the way to the Supreme Court, it certainly sounds like Ginsburg would question whether the accused was given a meaningful opportunity to defend himself being key there. Also, if any of them went to Supreme Court, which I think some are suing colleges because of this, yeah, not doing so well on that, are you, Columbia? Geniuses. You've got to also consider here that if the university isn't doing that properly with the amount of cases that are occurring that are being false or bogus, then you have to consider that the university's credibility is non-existent. So when a student then sues the university for being falsely accused, anything that university says in defense could almost be erased or disregarded as irrelevant. Anyway, as more and more of these cases are going to come up, I'm going to make more videos on them, and I'm going to highlight them, because as far as I'm concerned, this should not be unnoticed. It should not be ignored. People shouldn't push this false narrative, which is a term I've used many times, and many others have used it before me, and after, no doubt. Quite frankly, we're supposed to be better than this, and it's an embarrassment to everyone that people would be so malicious, so willing to use such an extreme, and people so blind for whatever nonsense reason they can conjure up out of their bottom to ignore the evidence that would exonerate the innocent and quite clearly prove that the claimed victim is actually the perp of a different crime, of course. Makes me sad. Anyway, regardless of all of this, and just before I finish, tonight, 9:30 PM GMT, I should hopefully, provided it's on today, be doing a response to Prime Minister's questions on my second channel, the Cthulhu-Kin and Friends Show. I will link it in the description, and I'm also tomorrow, 10 PM GMT, I think, going to be streaming with Sinatra on this channel, so please feel free to join us. I hope you all have a lovely day, and thank you all for listening.